When you live in a small town, everyone knows where you've been and what you have done. I've been trying to leave this old town since I...
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. I'm Zeta.
And I'm Kelly, and you're listening to
Two Sides and the Truth. Okay, so we got some catching up to do.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. My catching up is how I caught myself, and by caught myself, I mean the ground caught me.
Gravity caught you.
Gravity caught me.
Gravity got you, girl.
And,
it got you.
I had other things to discuss, but I think that this knocked it out of me, and I can't remember anything else that's happened.
You have amnesia now?
Oh, my God. So, y'all know I get up at the crack of dawn. And so this morning, it's Monday morning, and I get up and I'm going to go to work. And Rick had just come down for breakfast, and so he said goodbye. And then as I'm walking at the door to lock the door, I remember the front porch light is out. And it went out last week, and I just kept forgetting to remind Rick, and we were out of bulbs, and I just would forget about it by the time I get home, I guess.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, I need to tell Rick. And so as soon as I remembered, I'm like, hey, we got to change this light bulb because I can't even see to lock the door. It's really hard to even get my key in the hole. That's how dark it is. And I'm talking on the inside. I mean, I could turn the lights on, but Zoe's been sleeping in my living room for 6 months, so I don't like doing that. So he was like, it's not that dark. It's not ain't that dark. You know, however Rick talked. And so I was like, whatever. I can't even see to put my key in the hole, and I keep thinking I'm going to fall down the steps. I cannot see. And he blows me off. I walk out, lock the door. 20 seconds after this conversation, I do a swan dive off the front porch.
Oh, no.
I think I tripped. My house, for those that don't always listen, is a 100-year-old house, and so it's pier and beam. So my front porch is a wooden porch, and there is a piece of the porch that is a little uneven, like it's slightly warped. And I think that's what got me. And I don't know, because I couldn't see. So
I'm sorry, it's not funny. It's sad. I'm sorry.
And I flew. I mean, I landed so far. I posted it on Facebook today, and I put a picture, and I drew an arrow so people could see how far I flew because it's almost unbelievable.
Oh my God.
I want to say 5 feet. And my steps I had 3 steps, but my house being 100 years old, the steps are not normal size steps. This was just made by some guy. These aren't like steps someone professional to a spec. This is 100 years ago. Or I don't know when they put the steps on, but And so they're really big steps. Like they're not just the size of your foot. They're really big steps, like width-wise. And not height-wise, but width-wise. And so I tripped. I flew across the steps. I couldn't see, so I didn't know where I was landing or how I was landing. Like, I didn't know where the ground was to even prepare.
Yeah, to brace yourself.
Or pick the right spot or whatever. I don't know. It was like falling into darkness. Like, I had no clue. So I did have enough common sense to think to myself, this is going to really suck.
Yeah.
Like, halfway down, I'm like, fuck my life. I'm old. I could really injure myself.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like, put my arms in front of my face because I don't want to hit my head.
Yeah.
Or my face. Yeah. And in the process, I got my palms really, really good. One of them's purple, and it's a little better than it was this morning. It was super swollen this morning, too. Yeah. And the other palm is just sensitive to the touch. My right knee, which is already my ugly bad knee because my son blew it out with my blood vessels when I was giving birth. It's like this poor knee goes through everything. The other knee is living its best life. This knee, not so much. So I land on that knee, and I hit so hard that I'm thinking to myself, I might have broken my kneecap. That's what I thought. And I'm crying hysterically. It hurt. And I'm like crying in my front yard in the pitch black. My shit has flown everywhere.
Oh, my gosh.
I find my phone, and I'm going to call Rick. I can't get up to get inside get inside by myself.
It's a good thing you were able to get your phone.
Yeah, well, he didn't answer.
Oh.
No. Why would he answer?
Of course not.
No, when he gets in the morning, he doesn't carry his phone around in general, but typically he has a pattern and he goes into the garage and he has stuff he keeps in the garage and he sets usually his phone and his keys on this little workbench. And then he goes about his morning getting his coffee cup out of his truck, bringing it in, filling it up, eating his breakfast. Like he's like, I knew he probably didn't have his phone on him. So he doesn't answer his phone. I'm like, he's not dead. I have a daughter sleeping on the couch, probably 10 feet from me at this point. But I know she won't answer her phone. She doesn't wake up for shit.
No, she's dead.
Yeah. And Zoe's phone is broken. So I can't call Zoe's phone. He was really my only shot. And Zaylee, she's not going to wake up for the phone. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh my God. So I sat there for 5 minutes and cried. I could not get up. And finally I was like, I'm going to have to get up. Like, I got to get up. My other thing is to call my boss and tell him I'm not making it in. I'm stuck on the front yard.
Sorry, can't get anybody to answer. I'm down.
Yeah. So finally I'm like,
I need a life alert.
I'm going to have to get up. This is when I find out if my knee's broken or not, basically. So, and I had tried to get up at first and I couldn't. Yeah. I was in pain. So finally I dragged myself off the ground and it took a minute. I just set my phone down like on the step. And when I called him, I just like grabbed my phone and scrolled real quick through the call log, like just randomly looking for his name because I really don't call Rick a lot. I see him, so I don't have to.
Yeah.
And so I go back, I find him, I call him the first time. He didn't answer, so I set it down there, but it's still on and lit up, right? So I get to the door. He comes to the door. He was like, what's wrong? Because I'm crying. And he's like, what is wrong? What is wrong? I'm like, you didn't hear me? You didn't hear me swan dive off the front porch? Like, you didn't hear all that? And he was like, well, I did. But I looked outside and I didn't see anything. It was too dark. So I went back to eating breakfast.
Oh, my God.
So as I was sitting out there trying to get a hold of him in pain, he actually looked and couldn't see me.
Because it was so dark.
I said, what if someone had kidnapped me and you still had a chance to get me, but you couldn't see me, so you just gave up at the door? Like, dude, what the fuck? And so I was like, this is not what I expected from you. I'm just putting that out there.
What I'm like, do you agree that it's too dark out there now?
Yeah, maybe. Here's your sign. Your fiance almost died this morning. Oh. And I'm crying, and he was really sweet, actually, because I just, like, cried into him. Like, I don't know that we've ever done that.
Aww.
And so I was like, help me gather my stuff, because it went everywhere, and I could barely walk. So he goes down the 3 stairs, and gathers all my stuff. And in the process, he picks up my phone, and he's really not paying attention. And I was scrolled to Friday, and on Friday night, I had been calling my friend Danny, and because I helped get him tickets to the Texas theater to see Wade Bowen. And so I'd called him, we were working it out so he could get his tickets. Well, I'd gone to call up. So Rick, when he picks up my phone, isn't really paying attention to the phone. He's paying attention to like what just happened. And he calls Danny because he's on the call log. It's 5:30 in the morning. And he calls Danny.
Does Danny answer?
He doesn't answer either. It goes right to voicemail.
Ain't nobody gonna answer at 5:30 in the morning.
He called me back later. Everything all right? I was like, well, yeah, now. But if someone's trying to kill me, you did not save me.
No, nobody passed that test. Nobody.
No. I could still be on that lawn. If I'd broken my knee, the only person who would have found me is Zoe on his way to school.
Right.
I was like, oh my gosh. So then I'm like debating if I go to work because I am jacked up. I am in a bad situation. And I was like, no, I got to go to work. I got to go to work. So I like dust myself off. I am filthy. I'm rolling around in that yard. I landed on the concrete, but to get up, I rolled to the grass so it wouldn't hurt my knee as bad to put pressure on it to get up. And so I'm covered. I just dust myself off. I get in the truck. I drive to work. I get to work. I am like limping in. I look like I have grass in my hair. My boss is like, what happened?
Had an eventful morning.
I said, I almost called in. Well, thank God I didn't because everybody else I work with damn near called in.
Gosh.
And
one of those days, huh?
Yeah. So I don't know. Everything else that happened to me is a blur now because I almost died.
I'm so sorry. I wish I lived closer and you could have called me.
I said I'm now part of Thud Life instead of Thug Life. It's Thud Life because I made a thud. Thud.
Oh my gosh.
I could have called you. I thought about calling Terry.
Bless your heart.
I was like, I bet Terry would show up.
Yeah, I would.
Anyways, that's all my catching up. What you got?
I don't have a lot, but I did get a little bit of a update because I know I told everybody how I've been having some problems at work. Well, I haven't been having problems, but the Salvation Army has been having problems and they're shutting down. I figured out that we are now the club in Waxahachie is now the only Boys and Girls Club, Salvation Army Boys and Girls Club, that is open up in this district anymore. They closed down all the other clubs.
Oh,
our club was the number one club, and so that's why we weren't closed down, because we were not in the red. We've been making money, and we're the number one club, so they didn't shut us down. But we weren't going to be able to replace any employees, and we weren't going to be getting any employees for summer. And so we're really we still got our hands tied on a lot of things. And so it hasn't been fun. But since they closed down all the other clubs, one of the clubs, they had a budget for summer for their 2 employees. So they are sending their 2 employees that are still employed to our Boys and Girls Club.
Oh.
Now, it's if they want to, they have a choice if they're wanting to commute or not, which I can't really remember exactly where they're coming from, but I think it's a little bit of a ways. So if they're willing to commute, they're going to be coming to our club for the summer. And also if they, meet our standards.
Yeah.
But if they choose not to come, or if they don't make it, like they don't make the cut, then we still have those 2 positions throughout the summer.
Okay.
So that's good. So that will definitely help us out, especially because we're running like a skeleton crew right now.
Yeah.
So if somebody were to call out or have an emergency,
it's a problem.
It would really hurt. So that's going to help give us a little bit of cushion for the summer. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, that's good.
So that
Waxahachie really needs the Boys and Girls Club.
I know, and it would really suck for us to end up being close. It's already sucked right now because we're having to cut back on so many kids.
Yeah.
Because we usually have like over 100 kids for the summer, and we're just not even anywhere close to that right now.
Yeah.
And so it makes me sad to know that there's a lot of families that are hurting.
Yeah.
And we've literally tried to squeeze as much money as we can and get as many resources as we can to have as many children as we can. But there's also, you think about the quality of their summer at the same time. Like if we have so many kids that we can't, take them on field trips, then that's not going to be fun for the kids that get to come. And, we don't want to spread ourselves too thin to where they're not getting the quality of service that they deserve. So it's hard. Our hands are tied though.
Yeah.
So. But we're still here. We're the only club that is. So
that's crazy.
We're kind of just trying to keep it going.
I've been in that boat when I used to work retail, and when the company starts going under, I've been the last man standing on more than one occasion. Yeah. To the point I sold fixtures and mirrors off the walls.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I made so much money doing it that they called me and asked me what I was doing, and I told them, and they were like
selling everything.
They were like, not a single other store has deposited like more than $400, and you've made like $20,000. I was like, because I'm not a thief. I was probably the only dumb bitch that didn't think to take it.
Right.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, that sucks, man.
I was like, sorry. That was Judy's, by the way. Anyone that any Gen Xers remember Judy's store? I was literally their last employee, and I love that store.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, I had some of the people that I work with that kind of worried about if anybody else that's leaving or what, and I told them that I'm going down with the ship. So as long as we're open, I'm going to be there.
You'll be there, yeah.
I'll be there until they tell me you can't come here anymore. Yeah. We're not going to pay you.
There's no club here anymore.
There's nothing for you here.
Yeah. All right. So we have other big news on the catching up.
Oh, wait, I have one more thing.
Oh, you do? Like, you have more than me.
Well, it's just a small thing, and I don't really want to go too far into it. But if you are a person who believes in like sending positive vibes, or if you're a prayer warrior, I'm just asking for prayers for my brother. We got some news that they found something on his kidney. And so we're not really sure what it is. And he's going in for, I think, a MRI sometime this week. So I just want, positive vibes and prayers and whatever.
Is this brother share the birthday brother?
Yeah, this is my older brother. So this is my person. He's my Irish twin.
Yeah.
And so
he's your Zoe.
Yeah.
I feel you.
So just need some love and positive thoughts and some prayers if y'all can send him. His name, I like to pray for people by their name. So his name is Daniel. I call him Casey. So if you want to pray like you're me, call him Casey. But God will know who you're talking about either way.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Oh, that's nice. Well, on the next note, we have good news.
Yes, good news.
Yeah. So we have talked about the fact that Al turned the recording studio. He rented out the recording studio, like not as a recording studio. And so when he did that, he moved all the recording stuff over to the window so that passerbys can see us while recording because people like that.
Yeah.
The problem is there's no wall. So we're kind of in the restaurant. Like the customers can't see us, but you might as well. We can hear them.
We can hear them.
You can probably hear them on this recording. Mm-hmm. Definitely yesterday when we recorded. Mm-hmm. And it's made it really hard because when I record with Al, we record earlier in the day and on their slowest day. So we know how loud it's going to be and we have a lot more control over it. Mm-hmm. And it's Al. He can say, turn the music down.
Yeah.
Don't be loud,
Everybody be quiet.
But Kelly has completely different hours than Al and I do. Yeah. Al and I get up early and we get off work early, whereas Kelly is the polar opposite. And so by then, the restaurant and the bar are very loud, and it's made recording impossible. Yeah. It's hard to schedule it. We're rushed. There's noise in the background.
Yeah.
So we have a sponsor now who has offered to purchase us recording equipment as a sponsorship. Woo! Yay! And that is EDP Roofing out of Lancaster, Texas.
EDP Roofing, we love you.
So if anyone has any commercial, they do residential and commercial, but primarily they're commercial, and they've been in business 30 plus years. So you're going to hear more about EDP Roofing because they're going to do that. So we've now located the equipment that we need, and we are going to set up a studio in my house, and we are going to, get rolling where we're going to be able to do a lot more.
I'm so excited.
We can work around our schedules together. We can throw things together real quick. We can do extra things, but we can also video. There really isn't a good place to video here.
No.
But
so we'll be able to figure our whole setup and be exactly how we want it and not have to worry about, messing with anybody else's vibe or anybody else's setup. And it's going to be perfect. I'm so excited.
And one thing with it is that I want to try to do the videos things. And so I'm not saying it's going to be out of the gate like this, but I want to have a little setup for it. So when we do video, it actually is a recording studio.
Yeah.
So I just thought it'd be fun for maybe some listeners to give us some ideas. So if you have some podcasts of backdrop ideas that you think would work, and use your creativity. I'm not saying you saw somebody else's you like. I mean, you can do that too. But if you're just creative or you just think this would be cool, there's not going to be the table set up. This is more likely going to be sitting on a couch or sitting at chairs. I don't see us building a whole table
There might be a coffee table.
Yeah. We got to have microphones.
Yeah. So.
But we could hold the microphone.
We could.
We're going to play with it. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. The sky's the limit.
Yeah, but I would love to have listeners give a little feedback what they would like to see.
What kind of setting y'all like? If you like to watch podcasts as well as listen to them, what kind of visual effects and visual things do you like?
Yes. That's what we're asking for. Mm-hmm. So, give us a little bit of feedback on that.
Yeah.
So exciting news coming soon.
Hey, Zeta, you know what time it is?
What time is it, Kelly?
It's time to pop the top.
On the topic of the day.
All right, so our topic of the day is dealing with hate. And really just any kind of negativity, but mostly we're talking about hate. And anybody that's putting, hate towards you, or you just hear it, or, or any kind of hate.
Yeah,
so,
how do you handle it?
That's what we're dealing with. So one thing that I want to put going towards this is because I know that there's all kinds out there. But what I was taught, and kind of an analogy that I give to the kids when we're dealing with any kind of negativity that gets spread around, I explain to them that any kind of negativity or hate or any kind of comments that get spread around, you have to view it like somebody's throwing a pebble into water, and it has that rippling effect. So when somebody is negative towards you and gets you in a bad mood, and then you are in a bad mood and you spread that negativity on, even if it wasn't yours to begin with, okay? So it can be really hard, but sometimes you have to absorb that ripple so that you don't pass it on to other people around you. And that can be hard to do. And it can be unfair even sometimes if somebody is spouting hate towards you, or you just hear them spouting hate towards other people, or whatever the case may be. It can be really easy to get caught up in that and want to spread your own hate or whatever the case may be. And sometimes you have to absorb that negativity so that it doesn't spread through you onto other people. So that's my biggest thing because a lot of times, and I'm not saying not to stand up for yourself or not to stand up for other people. You definitely should, but know how to do it in a correct way. That way you're not just escalating the situation or passing on hate to other people or
letting it fester.
Or just continuing that negativity and hate.
Yeah.
And so I always remind them of the ripple effect that can have.
Yeah. Oh, it has a major one.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny because, Kelly and I, when we decide we're going to do a Bazaar as a topic or whatever, we'll talk about it, but we don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. So, like, I'll be like, I got something, or she'll be like, I got something, and I'll be like, this is kind of what I'm thinking. And she'll be like, this is kind of what I'm thinking. And then she'll make her own little thoughts and notes, and I'll make mine. And we don't make them together. Mm-hmm. So we don't usually, know what the other's going to say. Yeah. So I didn't actually know you're going to say that. And I really, really like that. And I like that because recently, I've dealt with this throughout my life when I was in management. Even having children. But I have dealt recently in a situation where someone that I know has been unhappy with their work life. And because they're unhappy with their work life, they're letting everyone at work know how unhappy they are at their job. And everything is everyone's fault. And it might really be. I wouldn't know. I don't know if this person's not doing a good job or if it's really everybody's fault. I wouldn't know. But this person has been telling everybody all negative. So for months, they're going to work being very negative. Mm-hmm. And that breeds more negative. Yeah. And it becomes a very negative situation. Mm-hmm. So this person recently was let go of their job.
Oh.
And it was
go figure.
And it wasn't because of mistakes. It wasn't because of that. It was because they were spreading negativity.
Yeah.
And they really were. And I mean, it's not someone I work with, so I don't really know how good or bad they were at their job.
Yeah.
I just know as a past manager that I have had to do that before when just nothing was going to make this person happy. Yeah. And instead of conversations about things that they could improve, being motivating or being encouraging or being, hey, I got to get my shit together. I can't keep being late, or I can't keep doing this, or whatever the case is. It's, they're out to get me.
Yeah.
And that's a mentality that will spread like cancer.
Yeah.
And so when you said that, that's what I thought is as far as absorbing it. Mm-hmm. And when you're in that boat, and let's say you have a coworker, and they're unhappy with everything at work. Yeah, Kelly, do you want to? We got a laugher in the background. She is having a hell of a time.
I wonder how loud it's coming through on the actual recording, because it is really loud here.
It is. So we're sorry, and that's why we're getting a new studio. Anyways, so, I mean, that was one of the things that, my big takeaways as far as management was that can affect your home life too. If you're going home and every day all you have is negative to say about it in your home, how you're affecting everybody in your home, in your life, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So that is actually what I thought of when you said that. But that wasn't even the reason I came up with this. I came up with this because someone recently that I was talking to who is a good, a nice person. He's one of those people, an older man. It's not Terry. I'm going to put this out there.
That's automatically where you go to.
Yeah. And it's an older man, and I've never known him to be anything than a really nice Christian guy that tells a lot of funny dad jokes. Mm-hmm. So every time I see him, he's got a different dad joke. And he talks highly of his wife, and he talks highly of his children, and he's very active in his church, and he talks a lot about his church. And so the other day, they said to me something negative about a gay person. And they said it very negative. Like, it wasn't like, this isn't my religion. I'm not, teach their own. But it was hateful.
Yeah.
It was hateful. And he said it loud. And he said it about 10 foot from someone I knew that was gay.
Uh-oh.
They didn't hear him, thank God.
That's good.
And so I'm just staring at him. And I'm thinking he's going to read my face and, read the room. And no, she's not down with this conversation.
That's a no. Yeah.
So I kind of tried to veer it. I just kind of almost changed the subject abruptly. And he didn't let it go. He said something again. And so I just kind of leaned in quietly and I said, I don't agree with what you're saying and I don't want to hear it. It's making me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And he just kind of looked at me and I said, and it's making me think less of you. And he just got real quiet and he goes, oh, well, I didn't mean it like that. And I said, I don't care how you meant it. It's what you said. Right. So this conversation's over. And it was over.
Yeah. See, I think that's perfect.
It changed my entire perception of this man. Wow. And that is why you got to be careful what you put out in this world.
Yeah.
Because the only person that made me think negative of was him and his church.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't think that's all churches.
No.
But you don't know me like that. Why would you assume that I'm also bigoted? Like, I don't understand that. I don't understand that.
Don't put me in that boat with you.
Yeah, and it's one thing to not agree with someone's lifestyle. It is another thing to say something bigoted, which is what came out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And I just was...
I don't think that... nobody has that right. No. You have your right to your own opinions and your own beliefs, 100%.
Right.
But you do not have the right to spread hate on somebody else because you don't believe in what they believe or you don't live the lifestyle they live.
Yeah.
You don't have that right.
No. And, being you and I both are in an interracial relationship.
Yep.
And so my, fiance is Hispanic. Well, he's a half-breed. That's what he likes to call himself. That's not me. That's him.
He labeled himself that.
He likes that label. He owns it. And yours is,
My boyfriend's black.
And so in our circumstances, I'm sure you have, but I have definitely had people say in front of me negative things about Hispanic people.
Yeah.
And have you ever had that happen to you and not knowing you're Hispanic?
Yes, I have.
I could see that happening.
Yeah, I definitely have. And not that I really don't. I'm such a mixture. Like, I know that I have qualities about myself that definitely suggest some kind of native, so I understand that. But growing up and I've had people, say comments, Mexican comments and Mexicans being good workers or this and that or the other. And it's not even always necessarily negative, but you're still stereotyping. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you meant it in a negative way. If you're still being stereotypical, that could hurt somebody's feelings or that could make them feel uncomfortable around you.
Right.
Because of you stereotyping. Because they were like, oh, well, if you're stereotyping this way, are you going to stereotype me another kind of way?
Right.
Like, I don't know where your limits are here.
Yeah. And I feel like most people give their PG version in public.
Yeah.
Which makes me think, how much is this behind closed doors?
Oh yeah. Like, I don't know where you stop at. What are your limits?
Yeah.
That makes me question.
And I've had a few times, I mean, you know me, I'm mouthy. I'm going to say something. Mm-hmm. And I mean, what? No, it's shocking. It's so shocking. And I have jumped people's ass. Like, for one, when I was in Walmart grocery store, and this is Walmart, not just a grocery store, Walmart in Red Oak, Texas, back when I lived in Red Oak, but as an adult, 12 years ago. And it was a Sunday afternoon, and this lady, an older lady, was our cashier, and she was white. And a older black lady was her customer, and they both looked like they were pushing 80. Mm-hmm. And I'm not exaggerating. They were both older. And the customer, the black lady, her husband was with her. And they obviously had just left church. They are dressed to the nines. They look fantastic. She got a little hat on. They are looking good. They just left church. She is so hateful to this cashier. The entire process is just embarrassingly hateful. She is degrading her. She is like, are you stupid? are you like calling her stupid?
Oh my gosh.
And they had bought a ton of veggies at Walmart. I don't know who goes to Walmart for veggies, but whatever. She bought a ton of veggies. So the girl is having to like weigh them, and it's taking time.
Yeah,
veggies, you got to put in the code, and the lady's like 80, okay? And so she's going through the process, and the entire process, the lady is just degrading her. And it is a full basket. It is taking a minute. This is not a quick transaction. Yeah. So when it's all said and done, she presents a check to her, right? She writes the check, gives it to the lady. The lady asks for her ID. And it's like a $300 sale. And the lady asks for her ID. And at this point, the lady is on the edge of tears already. And I am fuming at this point because I'm just like, man, I want to beat this bitch's ass. And she's 80 years old. I mean, I'm going to go to jail today. So I'm just like, do I say something? And I'm just the next customer in line. I'm no one. And so she was like, okay, she writes a check. She goes, may I have your ID, please? And she was like, no, why? Why do you need my ID? Because I'm black. Bitch, no, because you're writing a check for $300 worth of shit. No one cares what color you are right now. Yeah, I agree that happens sometimes, but this is clearly not what's going on.
Yeah.
She was like, no, ma'am, our policy is, and starts to tell her the policy. And she was like, no, I know. And just, that's it. That was the flip of the switch. I was so sick of the shit coming out of her mouth. It was so hateful, and it wasn't about race, and it wasn't about, being gay or religion. It was just, I'm a bitch. And I'd had enough. And then the woman starts crying. Aww. The cashier is crying. The 80-year-old lady. I said, sir, because her husband's with her. And you can tell he's embarrassed. He looks at me. I said, is this okay with you? Is this okay with you? Did you just leave church and come here and make this woman cry because she's following policy to keep her job she probably needs? Is that what I'm seeing here? Is that what's going on? What church do you go to? Because I'd like to visit. I'd like to sit down with your minister and ask him what he's preaching in church. So please, where do you go to church, sir? And the lady spins her head around and looks at me, and she was like, fuck you.
Oh, just a cherry on top right there.
I was like, bitch, let's go. Let's fucking go. I said, you're too old for me to kick your ass, but if you swing first, I can swing second. Let's fucking go. She was like, fuck you. Just left church. There's no doubt they've just left church. So he realizes she's out of control. He was like, honey, we got to go. We got to go. We got to go. The lady's like, I'm not taking y'all's check. Gives it back to him.
Oh, somebody wheel these groceries back around.
Yes. So the lady's like, get me the manager. I said, get me the manager too. Get me the manager too. We're going to all stay for this.
Yeah, we're going to have a meeting.
Manager comes out, denies their check.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So then I go to leave. I buy my stuff. I go to leave. She is waiting for me outside.
Ooh.
So this is what I'm telling you. Hate speech doesn't have to be what you think of hate speech being. It can just be hateful speech.
Just be hate, man.
And do you stand behind the customer and allow it, or do you step up? Now, granted, she was an 80-year-old woman, but if she was a 40-year-old woman, I would have been more comfortable, honestly, because at least I could have swung. I mean,
right?
At least I could have not felt like I was being mean to someone's grandma, but someone need to get their grandma in check.
Yeah, I know.
And she waited out for her, wanted to fight. I'm not kidding. I said, swing, bitch. She didn't swing.
No, of course not.
Person's like, we got to go. You need to stop messing with these ladies.
Oh my goodness, that's so crazy.
Yeah, welcome. I got 20 other stories just like
I bet you did.
Zoe was hiding in the car again. Can I tell you one time Zoe's had to hide in the car? But I'm like, I am the one taking up for the person being picked on. I don't start the fight.
No, and that can be the hardest thing right there is just to take that initiative to not let it happen, because so many people are just bystanders and just want to get out their phones or whatever the case may be.
Record it.
Yeah, and I'm like, but it takes a person to actually like put their foot down and step in between one person and another person and be like, no, this is not okay. You don't treat people like this.
I took her picture and I posted it. As she was mid yelling at me. Next time it comes up on my memories, I'm gonna put it out there. Yeah, I'm sure she's dead by now.
Yeah, you just share it.
I did, and I said anyone in Red Oak, because I'm grew up in Red Oak school districts. I was like, anyone in Red Oak know this old lady? I would love to go to her church. I need you to find out where it is. I tried. Nobody knew her.
Oh well.
Yeah, no one goes
all
to
you
that
can
church.
do is try.
What are you gonna do? And so with the hate thing, I have found that having children, it's a conversation I have to have with them.
Yeah.
Because I find hate to be all consuming. And I think that we often don't realize how much something's consumed us. So I know when my ex-husband was married to his second wife, it was consuming to them. They were consumed with me. And they did anything they could to ruin my life. They did anything they could to try to hurt me. And it was all consuming to them. And what I would tell him is, you do understand that you're putting all your energy into something that I don't care about. Like, you're not consuming me. You need to move on and stop being consumed with this hate. But I think one was kind of breeding off the other.
Yeah. Well, that I definitely feel like that happens a lot because, hate needs other hate to, to fester and to keep going. A person can't just sit with their own hate. Like, it's something that you have to spread. Like, you can't just hold it in. You got to spread it around.
And the guy that I was dating at the time, once he got together with his wife, the guy I started dating, he hated Scott. He saw what he was doing to me and to the children, so he didn't like him. But I didn't want to hear about it. And he would get consumed with it. And he would be like, he would get worked up. And I was like, dude, let it go. I don't want to live in that world. I can't let them affect me. Yeah. And you can't let them affect you. And we broke up over it. I did not want to be like that. Yeah. And he couldn't stop. He could not stop. And I didn't want to surround myself with that. I didn't want to be like that.
Well, that's good.
And you have to make choices like that. And I think that's, in your friend groups, you have to make choices like that. If you have a friend that hates everybody but you.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. And do they really like you?
Yeah, true.
I mean, if you hate everybody but like two people, you might be the problem.
It's true.
I mean, you might not, but I'm just saying. You might be.
Maybe you're just not good at making friends, but I don't know.
Yeah. And that's just my personal, perspective on the matter. Yeah. Have you had anyone ever say anything like about Black people in front of you?
Well,
how do you handle that?
Honestly, I haven't so Dante is the first Black guy that I've ever dated. And he's the first one I've ever even been attracted to. Not that I'm not attracted to, Black people, but I just haven't had another person that I've been attracted to and wanted to date. It just hasn't happened. And that's something.
Well, you're attracted to personality too.
Yeah.
But that wasn't it with him. It was looks because you zoned in.
Oh, I did. I really did. Yeah. But it was something at first that I was, not that I had a problem with it, but I have heard in the past things that there's people that don't like that. There's people, and, on both sides of it, white people that don't like seeing it and Black people that don't like seeing it. And I've heard other girls talk about how they don't like white girls dating their Black men because they consider them their race. Like they're not supposed to be dating white girls. White girls aren't supposed to be.
And it goes the other way too, white as well.
Yeah. But I've just, and so I have, and I've had the looks, every now and then you get it. And it's, honestly, it is usually the Black women that are looking at me and you can tell that they're like, eh.
Yeah. What is he thinking?
And I haven't had it from any that, obviously his family are amazing and they're very just loving and accepting. And I've had no problems in our relationship, but you notice it every now and then when the people who aren't okay with it, like you can tell the looks that you get every now and then. Now,
and what do? You just shrug it off? Because that's not worth your energy.
No, it really isn't. And, obviously.
Although I'll be honest with you, I would fucking make out with them on the spot. I would, man. I'd be tonguing. Yeah. And I don't like to use the tongue, but I will. I mean, act like we're in 7th grade right now.
Right.
Rick tried to French kiss me like a year ago. I was like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Stop.
Get that thing back
gross.
in your mouth.
It's not 1987. We're not in a closet at a sleepover.
I've never been big on that either. Like, I'm just...
Back in the 80s, it was the big deal. It was a big deal back then. I don't know why.
Unless you are just really good at it. Like, it has to...
I think it was an 80s thing.
It's almost like...
No one does that now.
It has to be very little. I'm okay with biting the lip and different stuff like that, or suck on the lip.
Playfulness.
Yeah, that's fine. But
don't suck my tongue out of my mouth?
Your whole tongue in my mouth? No, I don't.
No.
That's a choking hazard.
But other things. Weird.
Right? I don't know. It's just, don't ask. I don't make the rules, okay?
That's not,
Certain things are okay to go in there.
I would like people to, can you just still do polls on Facebook? You wouldn't know.
I don't know.
I'm going to do a poll.
You can do it on Instagram.
We need a poll to see people that French kiss by age group. 20s, 30s, 40s, if you still do. Look, we're going to work this out. I want to know. I want to know the answer to this question.
How did we...
I don't know, y'all. You can combat hate with some apparently not French kissing
This
people.
is one of those rabbit hole things that we go down every now and then.
That's the beauty of this
podcast.
podcast.
I don't even want to get started on the other poll that you were coming up with the other day. Remember what you sent me and Sunday?
Yes.
Okay, so we're getting on a totally different subject now. We're done with hate. We're going into...
why not? What is it? Yeah, go.
We're going into polls. So...
yeah. I do remember now.
You remember?
Yes, I do remember. Yes.
Can you tell them what your other poll question is?
Did I ever tell you what Rick said?
No.
Okay. Because I asked him.
Oh, okay. Good. I forgot to ask Dante, but...
okay. I saw... The reason I asked this, it didn't just pop in my head, is I saw a cartoon. You know those cartoons that will show you two identical cartoons or almost identical, and it'll be like, find the 10 things that are different?
Yeah.
And so that was this one. And it was, and I don't do those. It just popped up on my Facebook feed, and on them are one of those, Instagram, I don't know. And it was a cartoon of a woman sitting on a toilet, and she's fully dressed, but she's sitting on the toilet with her pants down, but it's not meant to be a dirty picture.
Yeah.
And what's different? The only thing I noticed immediately is the second one, the head of a dick was between her legs. It was kind of about to fall into the toilet, I guess. It wasn't in the toilet. It kind of leaned over the toilet, I guess. And I thought to myself, what do men do with their dicks when they have to sit on the toilet? I don't know the answer to this.
I don't have that part. I don't know what they do.
I don't. And so I wanted to know.
So now she is.
And so as soon as I thought, who can I ask? Let me ask Kelly and Sunday. That makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I didn't even send them the picture. I was like, hey, y'all, what do you think guys do with their dicks when they have to sit on the toilet? And they're both like, what the fuck's wrong with you? This is in the middle of a day, 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, y'all.
You can't just start a conversation that way. You could have started with, hey, guys, how y'all's day going? I got a question for you.
Yeah. And they're like, I don't know that all men have to work with this problem. I was like, I know. Because they have to worry about it
That's a significant problem there.
I mean, you don't want it to get wet. You don't want it to touch a toilet bowl.
Yeah, I don't.
This has got to be a worry.
Do they hold it up?
This is what I need to know, right? So I'm wondering, what do you do with it?
They cradle themselves?
Do they cradle it with their legs? Do they kind of put their legs together to hold it? Because they probably don't want to hold it the whole time.
So maybe they're just I
don't know.
The thunder thighs save them.
So I did ask Rick. And I wouldn't tell y'all if he actually gave me an answer because that would be too much information. But I said the same thing. And he was like, the fuck's wrong with you?
Are they not supposed to tell us? Is it a trade secret?
He goes, are you kidding me? And I was like, no, what do you do with it? And he was like, I'm not having this conversation. So I still don't know.
Oh my God.
And I don't want to go in there when he's sitting on the toilet because the only time he's sitting on the toilet is to do one thing, and I don't want to be any part of that.
Yeah.
Although, we share a bathroom, and the other bathroom is downstairs, down the hall, through the kitchen.
Yeah,
it's a hike, right? So this is part of a couple moving in together, is that in the mornings he would go in there or whenever and use the restroom. I don't want to go in there, but my shit's in there.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have to go in there either during or he's been in there a minute, he's a man. Yeah. They like to hang. I think he just wants to hang out. I just think he wants peace and quiet.
Yeah.
And I'll go in there and I'm like, closing my eyes, closing my nose. I want no part of this. And he was like, there you go, sniffing me again.
I'm cutting off as many senses as I can.
He always tells me I'm trying to sniff him. I'm like, dude.
Definitely.
I assure you, I'm trying everything I can not to. But my closet's in here, all my makeup, all my hair stuff, and bras. If I get ready for the day, I need a bra.
Yeah.
I need panties, socks. They're all in that. It's a closet bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all are welcome for those visual aids.
I'm sure y'all were just so ready for this.
I know. You're welcome, Rick, for putting this out for the world. He was like, people tell me, he goes, my friends' wives listen to you. So all my friends know shit they shouldn't know. But on top of that, my friends' wives listen to you that I don't think you know their wives. So I really don't understand how they started listening to you because you don't know them. And I was like, no, but I mean, I have a lot of listeners. He was like, stop mentioning all my shit. And here I am talking about where does his dick hang? Sorry, Rick.
That's why he didn't tell you, though. He didn't want you telling nobody.
He knew I would rat him out.
I wonder if I could get an answer out of Dante.
Well, we could do a poll.
That's true. We're going to have all kinds of polls.
Where do you put your dick
when
you're shitting?
Where does it go? Do you make a little hand hammock? Or do you just like...
If I had to worry about my titties falling in the toilet, I'd hold them.
That's true.
I would. I'd be sitting on the toilet with a cup in each boob.
Yeah.
That would be uncomfortable. And then what do you do when you wipe? I don't know. Flip it over your shoulder. If you got to worry about it hitting the water, you could just flip it over your shoulder.
Bang, hang low. That's a wild tune, bro.
I do a funny... We are totally off topic. Look, let's rename this one. Let's rename this to like just shit we wanted to talk about. Because... And this probably should have gone into catching up. I'm getting some of my memory back. Yesterday while I was cleaning house, and you know the new Taylor Swift album came out?
Yeah.
And she is just like on fire. Like girl is burning bridges left and right.
She's just letting them have it.
Yeah, girl, this was therapy for her.
Oh, for sure.
I have never one time listened to a Taylor Swift album my entire life. I like her more than I like her music. Mm-hmm. Like, I just think she's a bad bitch. I like it. And she does a lot of really good things for a lot of people. So I've become a little bit more, I'm like Swiftie light. I'm like old lady Swiftie light. And so I decided I'm going to listen to Taylor Swift while I'm cleaning house and just see what this new album's about. Just came out, right? So I'm cleaning the kitchen, doing stuff downstairs, and I put it on. So Rick comes down and he's working on the grilling stuff. So he's doing his shit. And it takes a long time. He was like wrapping bacon around shit and making stuffed peppers and doing all kinds of stuff. So he's in the kitchen a good hour while I'm listening to Taylor Swift's new album. And I don't say anything to him. I don't tell him what I'm doing or who I'm listening to. It's definitely not what I normally listen to. And so he was like, who is this? I said, it's Taylor Swift. He was like, oh, shit, man. I said, listen, it's me cleaning house. I get to listen to what I want to.
You want to clean house? You can put on your stuff.
Yeah. So a few minutes later, he goes, he's listening, I guess. And he goes, so this is what everyone listens to? This is what all these girls are crazy about? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, why? I was like, listen to the lyrics. It's about the lyrics. And she talks a lot about her personal life, like in the lyrics. So people like are looking for like Easter eggs and they want to know, And so typically when she's broken up, you're going to hear a story and it's usually a good one. And she's just really good with her storytelling lyrics. Mm-hmm. All right. So he's working on his shit and everything. And every once in a while he'd like sing along. It was really funny. And we were teasing him about being a Swiftie. But then we get to this one song and she drops GD like 2 or 3 times and he can't deal with that.
Uh-oh. No.
Yeah.
That's a big no-no.
And he's like, why is she doing that? I don't understand. Da, 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 da. And then I don't know what the real line is because I only heard it one time. But he thought she said, and I'll be honest, it sounded like she said it. I don't know if she really did, that her panties were dirty. That threw him for a loop. He could not handle the panties are dirty line. I don't think she really said it. I don't know.
Need that much information.
Right. Why would she write that? And all I could think is Tori Amos had a song where she talked about her panties being wet. And I thought, maybe that's really what she said. I don't know. Anyway, so I was like, whatever, blowing it off, Well, then she starts singing about some guy. And apparently he had a drug issue. And it's like, blah, 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 blah. I don't think he's listening at this point. Finally, he goes, who's she talking about? Who had the drug issue? I said, oh, you want to know what's going on in Swiftie land? I said, I think it's Matt Healy, but I don't really know. And this is why I think it's Matt Healy. So I like tell him what I'm thinking. He goes, but what about, wasn't there some guy before that he knew stuff? Oh I was like, God. Oh, you want to talk Taylor Swift now? Okay, let's go. Let's be some Swifties. What's
happening right now? Is this what happened?
Yeah. So.
I would have never thought that he would have been having a conversation with you about Taylor Swift.
He never once told me to turn it off and did not complain. I'm just putting that in there. He didn't love it, but he did not demand I turn it off.
That's funny.
He does demand sometimes I turn Miranda off. He thinks Miranda's a little angry.
Well, she can be, but I think we all can be sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, so we really got off subject. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Feel free to write a hateful speech about it. Leave it in the reviews.
Since we're already still off subject, I'll touch on one more thing. So you know how I told y'all the other day that my brother did a ancestry test, and I figured out that I was 2% Black. Well, he sent me the rest of the results, so I was going to tell you what it was.
I want to hear it.
So I am 31%. So the biggest majority is England and Northwestern Europe. 31%.
We could be related.
I am more England and Northwestern Europe than I am Indigenous Americas. So I'm more of that than I am Hispanic. I'm 24% Indigenous Americas, which is Mexico, whatever. So that's my Mexican side, but I'm more English than I am Mexican, which is interesting. Did not see that one coming, but I am. 18% Spain, so 18% Spanish, 8% Ireland. Oh. I knew I had Ireland in me, but I didn't know how much percent.
Yeah.
8%. 6% from Wales, 6% from Scotland, and 2% Jewish, and 2% Portugal, and then there's a couple others that is like
very little,
less than 1%. So
I've not done that, as we know, but I think that it would most likely come out predominantly Welsh.
Yeah.
Because both sides of my family can be traced back to Wales.
That's cool. I've got a little in me too.
I guess we'll find out eventually after my dad dies. I'm just kidding.
We gotta wait on that one.
I really think my cousin might have already done one, and I don't know it, but I'll find out someday.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is cool. Yeah. So now you know. Now you know. A little family crest.
Yeah, true.
A little family crest. All right, so I do want to circle back around to what we talked, so we can just tie it up what we talked about with the negativity and such.
Okay.
I think that we all have the ability to decide what kind of people we want to surround ourselves with. And we need to think about how that affects our mental health. And we need to think about how that affects other people's mental health around us. And that if you feel negatively about a certain type of people or whatever, it is best you just keep that to yourselves. Yeah. There is no need to pass that information.
Right. You might need to find you a therapist to talk to.
And it doesn't just reflect you. It reflects other people you surround yourself with, because you think, well, they're hanging out with this person who's racist or whatever. It affects how you think about their church. It affects you about what you think about their work. Let's say they're an educator.
Family.
Yeah, their parents. That did your parents raise you like that? And it is a reflection of more than just you. Mm-hmm. And so I can get by with just thinking, well, this person's just ignorant. But, I can't. I'm going to think it about more than just you. I'm going to think it about so many things attached to you. Mm-hmm. And so I just think that we all need to really kind of think to ourselves before we speak when it comes to hate speech.
Yep, very true.
So that's and when someone does it, how you handle it.
Yep, that can be a hard thing to do, but
I like to embarrass people so that they don't do it in front of me again.
Right. If you're going to make somebody feel bad, you better be ready if you're around Zeta.
Yeah, because I already have secondhand embarrassment for you.
Right.
Might as well embarrass us all.
We're all going down together.
We're all going down together. That's all I got to say about that.
I like it.
Okay, so for this week's Autism Awareness, we're going to talk to another one of my kids who's never been on the show before. This is a first. I asked my son Zol, my youngest, he's 17, if he wanted to be on the show because he has a completely different story than Zaylee. We've had a completely different journey with him than with Zaylee. I know we've given this disclaimer with every episode, the last 2 episodes, but you're going to hear noises. You're going to hear things from Al's restaurant until he finds a new location. This is what you get. So I just thought that we would bring Zol in here and he could tell us a little bit about it because it was so different. So Zol, if you want to start and you want to tell us, when were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 4, but autism around the time I was 14. So there's only been a good solid 3 years where I was treated like an autistic kid. Before that, I was treated like everybody else, but obviously that wasn't the case at all.
And when you say you were treated, what do you mean you were treated? Like you were held accountable, or what do you mean treated?
Not accountable. Everyone needs to be held accountable. No. What it was I don't know. I was expected to be like Zane or like Zoe, but I was more of a Zaylee leaning kind of person, and that's how it's always been. I mean, but only recently has that changed. People have medicated me right, but before that, no, not at all.
Yeah. So we've talked about in the past about the bullying situation when you were growing up and how you felt when you were growing up. And because he wasn't diagnosed yet, services were not available to him. And the punishment for anything that he might do was different than if he had been been diagnosed on the spectrum. I went to the school and many times telling them I really felt like he was on the spectrum and he was misdiagnosed. But because he is, again, I know not everyone likes these words, so high functioning, that I guess they didn't take me serious. And so it took till he was in 8th grade, until the middle of COVID, really. We got your diagnosis like maybe 2 weeks before COVID. I think so.
Unlike most people, COVID was probably the best part of my life, given that not only was I diagnosed right, but I was in general starting to get treated right. I was seeing people I hadn't seen in a while, say my brother. I wasn't seeing people outside who could judge me, and in general, I could work on myself better. And by the time I was out of COVID, I could be a different person entirely than what I was before. And that was great, for me at least.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted.
Yeah. And another thing that we had talked about with him being later diagnosed and being a different level, I guess, of autism is the treatment of his peers, because you're in regular classes and now you're still in regular classes. But the difference is you have a different treatment plan.
Well, I've always thought of myself as everybody else. I've never seen myself as different. Of course, I know I'm different and that I'm not the same. But I don't see it when I'm talking to people. I can't tell when I'm doing that stuff. I want to. I just can't. And it's not that I don't recognize that I'm autistic. It's I don't feel like it. And that's not what I feel myself as.
Because you've never been anything else.
Yeah, this is who I am. This is my normal. I mean, everybody has a normal. Everybody has a standard. My standard is what I am now. And that's what I expect of myself.
Right. I understand that. Kelly, working at the Boys and Girls Club, you work with kids with special needs too, right?
Yes, I do.
So do you see a difference in how kids on the spectrum are treated based on where they are on the spectrum?
Yes, and also based on whether or not they have had a proper diagnosis as well. Because you'll have the younger kids that you can tell are probably on the spectrum in some means, but they're at the point where they haven't been tested, or even if they haven't got to the point where they've been able to get a good plan in place that helps that kid. And so they are everybody's kind of just doing the best that they can to, keep them wrangled. Because some of them, we have one that's, he's not necessarily nonverbal. He does verbalize certain things, but for the most part, he isn't. He can't hold a conversation with you. He's the one that loves to hit me whenever I try to direct him away from something he's not supposed to be doing. And it can be very difficult. Even in the younger kids, I know that he can't hurt me, but every time he rears back to hit me, I feel like I have PTSD because I'm like, oh, don't hit me, please.
You know what's really crazy about that is that ideally the best situation is if you have a kid that is in that situation where they literally can't control themselves, which is the case, is that there's not more state things offered so that mom could stay home and be the caregiver, or so that mom could afford specialized care. Yeah. And that's a really good example of it, because you're not trained for that.
Yeah. Well, actually, I am.
Are you?
I mean,
what do they do? Do they give special training for autism, or what do they do?
They do. We go through all kinds of different trainings for the Boys and Girls Club. Now, not every after-school program does that, but the Boys and Girls Club, they have ongoing educational classes that help you deal with trauma-based learning and kids that have dealt with trauma and kids that have special needs.
Oh, that's good.
I've had a lot of training.
I got to go to the Boys and Girls Club when I was younger. I don't go anymore. I haven't been in years. But before you went, Kelly, I would go there regularly up until about late 6th grade. And I got to say, it's one of my favorite things. Just how they treat the kids there. It's not like you're not treated like anything else except a kid. Not like a kid in the sense of respect, but in the sense of just having fun, you know? And that's why I liked it so much. I mean, it was so relaxed. They treated you like a person.
Yeah.
He really loved it. It's the only daycare environment he ever liked.
Yeah.
I mean, he hated the others. I don't mean he kind of. Am I wrong?
No, not at all.
He hated them. He'd cry. He hated them. One time, he went to this one in Red Oak. You know the story I'm going to tell, right? Yeah. He went to this one in Red Oak, And I got a call because he went into the bathroom, and it was an old church they had converted into a daycare.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was still a church on Sundays. But anyway, so he went into the bathroom, and there were 2 sinks. And he stopped both of them up and turned the water on because he wanted to see what happened. But then he left the room. And so they called me. They were like, water was everywhere. It was absolutely everywhere. We don't, but the head lady, I don't know if she owned it or if she was just in charge of it. But her son, he wasn't on the spectrum, but I think he just had really hard ADHD. Mm-hmm. And honestly, with Zoe, I feel like his bigger hurdle is his ADHD.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like he's got a handle on his autism.
Yeah.
And, but he does very well socially now. He's got friends. He's learned to read social cues.
The key difference between my autism and my ADHD is my autism, I can still go and make friends. I can still act like a normal kid. I can still act my age. I don't see myself as an adult. I see myself as a kid. But with my ADHD, I'll sit down, I'll be reading something, and I can't read the page. I have to do it a dozen times. And finally it sticks, but only for a few seconds. And then I go play some video game, I don't know, whatever, pick and choose. And I'm on it for hours. That is my thing to do. I have so much fun doing it.
And you can focus on that.
Exactly. And it's
Isn't that weird?
so weird. I wish I could control that. I really can't. I mean, It's crazy to me. David and Goliath, that's my Goliath,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I often think that I have ADHD only because I watch Zoe. And I'm like, I do that too. Or that was a hurdle I had to overcome. And like cleaning house is one of them. My mom was a house cleaner. My mom was over the top. And it took me years to get a system down to maintain my home. It requires me being a little mean. It requires a lot of effort. It requires me really focusing because I'll start 10 fires to fix one.
Yeah.
And that's straight up ADHD.
Yeah.
And so I recognize like Zoe really struggles with keeping his room maintained. Zaylee really struggle, and she's not really ADHD, but hers is more her autism. She gets overstimulated by it. Whereas with him, I think it's a bigger issue of where do I start?
It's not like I don't do it. When someone tells me to do something, I get it done. It's that I don't do it on my own. I don't have the initiative to just start doing it.
Yeah.
Like I'll do it when I'm told to, and if someone points at something, it's done. But I just don't do it myself. And
Well, you also, and you and Zaylee, it requires me going in and making a plan. Like Zaylee needs me to go in and be like, get all your shoes together. Okay, that's the first step. Let's just gather all your shoes and put them where they go. And then I want you to gather all your dirty clothes and let's start the laundry going. And then I want you to, clean your bathroom next. Let's start with the sink. Let's move all your makeup together. Let's move all your, And so she needs that. And so once she finishes one task, I go in there and I'm like, yes, this is a good task. Let's move. This is what we're doing next. Whereas Zoe just requires me to make sure he's not playing video games. He's not playing on his phone. He hasn't started petting the cat. Like he's just going to lose focus. He's just going to redirect himself on accident. Like it's not necessarily on purpose. And I'm going to see things he doesn't see because he's scanning the room and he's already forgot shit he saw before he got to the other side of the room.
Yeah.
And so I will glance in there. I'll be like, what? How do you not see what I see? And it creates an issue, as you can imagine.
Yeah. So finish the church story.
Now I forgot where I was.
You stopped at the head lady whose son.
Wait, no. I'm thinking of the other church story. I just told the same story over there.
Oh my gosh.
Well, to the other thing we were saying, my thing about cleaning is when you lose something and you're holding it, but you don't realize you're holding it.
Yes.
That is exactly what it feels like. Like, where'd it go? And then you just and it's there,
Can I tell you how often in our house we look for chargers?
Yeah.
Because we might set them where we think we always set them, but we have 5 setting places because we're all ADHD.
I get my charger stolen all the time.
By the kids?
Yes, because they both have iPhones, and Dante is smart and has the only Android in the house. So, of course, he always has his cords, but...
Oh, yeah. Well, and I have an Android. Okay. So on the church story, I just told Rick a different church story. So I was like, which one was I telling? Okay, so when he was that church thing and he set the water off, it went everywhere, and they called. But the lady's son was higher functioning, so I don't think he was autistic. I think he was ADHD, and he was. Do you remember him? He was the guy that helped you the most. So Zoe was like, I don't know how old you were, 5, 6, 7-ish, and this kid was like 19. I mean, he just, saw Zoe in himself. Like he just recognized it, and Mom recognized it. And Zoe, I mean, he literally flooded the bathroom. He got in like hardly any trouble because they were like, nope, we get it. We understand why he did it. And they were like, we asked him why he did it. And he said, I want to see what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Just
That's it's a pretty good answer right there.
He also I just have to tell a story because he's on it. But at that same one, these kids, they'd go outside and they'd play with these balls. And there was only so many balls. And it was like the popular thing to play outside. It was like those big red rubber balls, you know, the dodgeball things. And do you remember what story I'm about to tell?
I know exactly what you're going to tell
me. And he goes out there and he has to pee now. And you have to go back into the church to go pee when you know, but he knows if he sets that ball, and you can't take the ball back in with you. So he knows if he sets that ball down, somebody's going to take that ball from him. Uh-huh. So he peed on it.
Oh, no, you did.
Right there in the middle of the playground, in front of everybody.
You just claimed your territory.
Like some rabid dog.
And then they're like, that's his mother. I get these phone calls. I'm like, I'm sorry he flooded your bathroom. I am so sorry he peed on that ball. I am so sorry.
That ball.
Yeah,
what
and
threw it away.
Right.
The good thing was, and this is the
They
only.
should have let you take it home.
Maybe.
It's your ball now.
I mean, basically. And then when she called, she wasn't even mad. She was laughing hysterically.
Oh
and she was like, I get it. I mean, we have to punish him,
Right.
but I get it. And he did it in front of everybody. Like, no shame. I was like, that's so funny. I'm sorry once again.
Yeah,
That's so much shame if I did that at any other like age, but that was the age where it didn't happen.
Right. You
Yeah.
can just laugh it off.
Didn't even
still.
click.
No, he was like, that's mine. I'm peeing on it. We had a kid when I was growing up, my neighbor in Rocket, Ian, and Ian lived across the street from us. And he was a little guy. And when he was in first grade, we were in the bathroom. Well, he was in the bathroom with the boys. And another kid was messing with him. And Ian he was mid-peeing, midstream. And he just turned to him, full body, and peed all over this kid.
Oh, that's one way to do it. Hey, sometimes the best answers are the simplest.
Now, these were all like former things years ago.
You got to do what you got to do.
I mean,
Maturity
it's true.
things. But recently,
Yeah. So do talk about that. Talk about where you are now,
Recently,
because I think a lot of people in your boat, and this is not, we're not going to have listeners that are you. Like, that's not our listener base. But we're going to have listeners that are moms that have kids like
well, a big part of me like understanding where I was going was self-awareness. I had to like carefully criticize everything and myself around me so I could like keep going. I was in maybe 9th grade. I was with a bad crowd. I couldn't tell because they were friends. And I had to like remove myself from that after realizing, hey, my mom said I shouldn't do this. I really shouldn't do this. And so I backed out. And then I found another crowd. Really, it was just about finding who I should be with and who I shouldn't be with, and getting the right medication and assortment of things. Probably one of my favorite people, like outside of my family, outside of anything, is a teacher I've had for 3 years now, Mr. Harris in my auto department. He is my favorite teacher of all time because he obviously has something going on with him. And he's like that guy you were talking about, the 19-year-old guy. Same story. I mean, he understands me perfectly. He's like, hey, just do this and, you know, whatever. And I'll do it for him because I'd do anything for that guy, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
because he understands me so well.
But that, that goes back to what we've talked about on episodes during this whole autism spree about the teachers. You got some really good ones, and then you got some that are just checking in.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he is in it. And every time that I go up to the school, he's like, I love him. He's great. He's wonderful. Like, he totally is invested in Zoe.
He talks to me like I'm one of anybody. That's a big thing. I do not like being degraded because I'm autistic. I don't like being told I'm autistic.
Yeah.
I like being treated like another person. I am another person. But because of some label, suddenly some teacher who's just there for the paycheck suddenly assigns me that. And I hate that.
Yeah. And you can tell a difference in his grades based on how his teacher teaches him or treats him. Because it doesn't matter how hard or easy the class is. He only does well in the class based on how the teacher speaks to him. And so if the teacher's degrading or if the teacher is, doesn't care for, some teachers just aren't there for it.
Yeah. Some teachers, they're going to teach their way no matter what the way the child needs to be taught. Yeah. A good teacher is very moldable and adaptable and can change their
just like
the
a
way
good
of
boss.
teaching. Yeah.
Like you manage to your people.
Other teachers, they're like cookie cutter and they're like, this is the way I'm teaching it. This is the way you have to do it. There's no other way than this. And that's just not the way you teach.
A big part of it is you're not willing to adapt at all. If they choose a teaching style and it works the first year or works any years, they're sticking with it.
Yeah.
And if it works, they're not changing it. That happens with a lot of teachers. Mm-hmm. And it's an easy mistake to make, and I understand it. But then there's the other ones who are just there. They are not a person. They're just there. They're not putting it into it.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're just there to get paid.
I mean, unfortunately,
it's true.
It's become such a clerical job that you lose a lot of people that the passion is there. Because a lot of people that have a passion can't deal with clerical.
Yeah.
Myself included. Like I can't deal with the clerical aspects.
Yeah.
I get it.
There's no way I could be a teacher in an actual school district. That's why I went with the work that I do now after school, because it's not a classroom and I'm not having to put
a curriculum.
Yeah, I'm not having to do grades and I'm not having to meet some kind of standards. Like it's just
and follow all these IPs and
we just get to have fun and create relationships and help make a difference in kids' lives.
And the thing is the kids aren't getting that in school.
Yeah.
And so I find like when Zoel when Zoel was doing so well in Boys and Girls Club is when he was struggling the most in school. Am I wrong?
Absolutely.
So he was all day looking forward to going to the Boys and Girls Club. Yeah, because he got treated good there.
Yeah.
Well, another thing about school is it's such a basic schedule of the same thing every day. So you know exactly what to expect. You know exactly the shortcomings you're going to get.
Yeah.
I mean, my classes are 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't have 8 in a day like some people. Mm-hmm. And I know when my lunch is. I know what my work is. I know exactly what I'm going to do. And I know what that teacher knows the same thing. They're not going to put any work into it. They're not going to try to mix it up because they think it's going to be the same thing as yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's easy to fall into. Yeah. And that's just how it is.
So what advice would you give to parents, because that's mainly who's going to be listening to us, to parents of kids that are in your boat where, really you might be speaking more to ADHD than autism, but I do something about ADHD and ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder, and ADHD and autism, they tend to go hand in hand. Now, autism tends to go more hand in hand with some other schizophrenia, bipolar, things along those lines. And whereas ADHD tends to go hand in hand with ODD.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have multiple diagnoses typically if you're in that realm.
There's lots of overlapping.
There is definitely. What advice would you give to parents as far as first off, advice to parents that kids are not diagnosed, but they feel like there's a diagnosis there. Before you got diagnosed, what would have helped you the most at school or at home?
The thing about having ADHD and autism is your kid's not going to realize they're different. They're going to suffer, but they're not going to know they're different. You have to focus, make the distinction. You have to look at other kids, like every other kid, and then look at yours. You can't look at yours first and look at theirs. Because if you do that, you'll have this understanding that your kid's the expectation, not them. They are the expectation. Now, I'm not saying every kid is the same, but there is a universal. That is how I criticize myself, how I move along.
So that's the standard you're trying to reach, is so that you're socially where other kids are?
I'm trying to be socially where they are, and usually a lot of things will fall in line with that. My grades, by the way, will fall in line with that because, I'm trying to succeed so I could keep following these kids up, so I can keep climbing the ladder.
Yeah.
And so I could keep living life. I have a good friend group, right now at least. They understand me. They aren't harsh on me. And they all act pretty similar to me. They could be autistic. They don't know it. I don't judge them for that. They don't judge me for that.
Yeah.
And that is what I expect. Because of something on a paper like autism does not mean you should make that the other person's life, their title.
Their personality.
Yeah.
That is not what I expect. My sister is not autism. My sister is Zaylee. That is my sister.
Right.
And that is a harsh thing to make her live to.
Yeah.
It's just autism.
Yeah. It's easy for it to become part of your personality.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy as a mom to become an autism mom.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it consumes my life.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a good way for it's a good line for autism to become you. My autism at one point was just me. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I liked, and that's why I went and looked. That's why I went around and checked what I was. I would stick with anything for a while. If my brother said something, I'd do it. If my sister said something, I'd do it. I didn't know what I was.
Yeah.
Because I never got the chance to look around. I was just doing impulses. I didn't just do.
You didn't find your own thing, but you are now.
Absolutely, yeah. I know what I am. I like video games, of course. I always have. I like certain kinds of music. I like certain kinds of ideas. That's just who I am now. I mean, I'm not the same person I was 15 years ago, maybe 7 years ago.
Well, even 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I did want to say before we wrapped it up was that as a mom of 2 kids that have ADHD, but autism and stuff like that, is that Zoel really struggled growing up before his diagnosis, even after his diagnosis, making good friend group. So you've heard him talk about his friend group a lot. And he really struggled with that. And we hit high school and like new worlds opened up. And he started making friends and he had a social life, and it created him having a better self-esteem. And his grades got better. Like everything got better once he got a friend group. So I'd really say it's really hard to figure that out. Like I was like trying to figure out how to make him make friends, like how to get him out there.
Well,
and that's really hard.
It's a gateway, really. Once you make one good friend group, you start to understand people and you start to make other friends. I started with one group and now I'm friends with a lot more people than I was before.
And you had to self-assess yourself, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
And what did you figure out when you self-assessed yourself?
When I assessed myself, I realized something. I was self-destructive. I had a lot of tendencies that made me hurt myself, that made me hurt people around me, that annoyed people. People didn't like it. I just did it because I did it. And I had to stop doing that. I had to stop doing stuff out of character that I didn't actually do because I wanted to, but because it got me attention. I had to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I just say things, people would go, oh, you can't do that. And, like shock value. I used to rely off that. But I'm like, that is not a good character trait. It made me realize how much I hate myself. At least at that time, I hated that.
Yeah.
And I just stopped. I stopped and I started just doing whatever I like doing. And that worked out for me.
You mellowed out.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So too. Anything else you want to give before we end it? Anything you want to say?
Another thing is the thing about autism, and I had to learn this not from anyone around me, but from ironically my stepmom that my dad is currently married to. But you need someone to talk to. I talked a lot to Holly when I first got to know her. And I let out words, and she's like, that's really interesting. I had someone to talk to. They need someone to talk to. Any parent, anything like that. I'm not saying that's something you do wrong, Mom.
Yeah.
I was just intimidated by you for a long time. I was. I'm saying that genuinely.
Well, and also I'm juggling 4 children, and Zaylee takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure I don't over focus on her because she requires so much.
Yeah.
And
You
Zoel
can
was
tell.
over there being sweet and easy. Even at his hardest, he's easy.
Yeah.
And so and Zane's the same way. And I have to be like, okay, I need to make sure I'm giving them attention. And
So I
need to
could
make
see
sure.
that he wanted to be able to take some of that weight off you and plug in with someone else.
Well,
to
and
have that.
his stepmom is awesome.
Yeah.
And she is good at that's why we have such a good dynamic now between their dad and I, is that she has opened up communication skills that didn't exist.
Yeah.
Because she listens to the kids, which is the best thing. Not that I wasn't listening to the kids, but his previous wife wasn't,
Yeah.
and he wasn't because she wasn't.
Yeah.
This one, Holly's awesome, man. She gets it.
Yeah.
I always talk good about Holly because I'm pro Holly. She's a good stepmom, man. She's a good stepmom.
Absolutely.
Is that it? Yeah, that's all you got?
Not really.
Oh, go ahead. We got more. Go.
Another thing is, Mom made this mistake, and it's not her fault. It's very easy to do when you have a harder sibling than another. Make sure you balance how you treat your kids.
Yeah.
That was a big part of it, because when I got older, my mom started paying more attention to me. But when I was younger, I felt like nobody paid attention to me.
Yeah.
And that's why I had to pull attention in.
When Zaylee, yes, and we had talked about that in therapy, is that we felt like Zoel, his behavior was less about his autism and ADHD and more about PTSD from Zaylee.
Yeah.
It was.
She was hard, man.
I could totally see that.
And she was hard on everybody. But Zoe got it the worst because I got a break. When they would go to their dads, I got a little bit of a break. But he had to go with her. And I mean, I love Zaylee, but she's a lot, especially back then.
She's still like that, though. I mean, like, Zoe will say something about her, and she'll hit me. I don't know why. I'm like, Zaylee, stop. And, she's, like, really, like, touchy for some reason. Like, she'll, like, grab my hair and stuff. I'm like, Zaylee, stop. But then, like, I go to give her a hug. She's like, don't touch me. It's so weird, right? Like, it's hypocritical, and it's weird. I'm like, Zaylee, I expect you to treat me like how you treat Zoe, my bad. But she doesn't do that. It doesn't render at all.
There's no rhyme or reason to the child. But, I do think your point is right about that because that was something with you that you were so easy that it was easy to get overshadowed, easy for it to affect your life maybe more than it should have at times. And now that you're older and that we've gotten a better handle on the situation with her and that your dad's more present, a big part of that is we tried to switch up the weekends so that the kids get a break from each other and that I'll get one-on-one with one or I'll get one-on-one with the other or their dad will.
That's good.
And Holly.
Yeah.
And I think it's helped. I mean, am I wrong?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it really takes two parents.
Yeah.
No matter how you put it. So.
Yeah, there's not one, there's not the other. And that's another thing is if you divorce someone, if you split from someone, you have to leave everything behind. You cannot hold anything against that person. They can't hold anything against you. Otherwise, it will completely affect whatever kid you have. No matter how little it is, no matter how big it is, it will affect them.
This is the divorce segment. That's not the autism segment. Do you need to come back for a divorce segment?
We'll do a divorce segment.
I mean, we can do it because you're right.
Yeah.
Well, no, it did have a big effect on my ADHD, though, on my autism. Because my ADHD creates these wild thoughts that I don't actually think and I didn't actually come up with. And my autism makes me react to them negatively.
Your anxiety kicks up over.
Yeah, and then so I was having these thoughts of, do my parents care about me? And my ADHD was bringing them up, and my autism was feeding into them. You know?
Yeah.
That's how it was.
Double-edged sword.
It is.
It was.
You did really good, Zoe.
Thank you.
You did?
Yeah. I'm going to say this about Zoe. Out of all the kids, Zane and him, I'm going to put this. Zaylee's really good about giving you her feelings in retrospect. Like, she's going to go through it, and she's going to put you through it. And then you're going to have an in retrospect conversation. Zoe's pretty good about always being like, hello, I feel this way. And I mean, even if he's overreacting, he's at least verbalizing it. And, I mean, it's helpful.
And I don't usually overreact because even if I'm like in an argument, I still have like the decency to try and stay on my horse. I don't go down and try to argue about it, you know?
Stay on my horse.
Damn, you been hanging out with Rick? What was that?
Let's stay on my horse. I'm not going to get down and fight with me.
I've never heard that, but I love it. I have never heard. Have you? I love it. Because I instantly, you know what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm going to quote that. All right. Well, Zoe, you did a great job. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's been fun, actually. I like talking about this kind of stuff.
All right. We'll bring you back for another conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Well, that's all for today. Thank you for joining us. Maybe come back next week and bring a friend.
Yeah. And remember, there's always 3 sides to every story.
2 sides and the truth.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.